Let's throw some jabs.
The fight starts now!
All right, Sergio, boxing absorbed another black eye this past weekend, and I'm not talking about one of the fighters that were in the ring. In the 9th round of last Saturday's 140-pound title fight between Rolly Romero and Ismael Barroso, referee Tony Weeks stepped in and waved off the fight in favor of Romero. It was an inexplicable stoppage of a fight that Barroso was winning on all 3 scorecards entering the 9th round. Sergio, should the Nevada State Athletic Commission overturn the outcome of this fight?
Yes, they should turn it over, but they're not going to do it because that's just the way it is. It's just another bad decision that got made by Tony Weeks. I mean, Tony Weeks is a great referee. Let me emphasize, great referee. I mean, we got Castillo Corrales because of Tony Weeks. All right, so I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to tell you that I saw something that a lot of people are they're just concerned with the outrage. They're concerned with Barroso being ahead on the scorecards, that he was 40 years old, that he could have won a world title. But look, Tony Weeks was behind Rolly Romero, and there was a punch that Romero threw with a right hand where it looked like it landed right on the chin. Mind you, this was the 9th round where Barroso was already down and those 40-year-old legs were shaking, his back were against the ropes. Barroso folded down. It looked like that punch landed from the perspective of Tony Weeks. All right, but if you look at it in slow motion of every which angle, of course you're going to be upset with this decision. But I'm just telling you, man, when referees have a burden on their shoulder, it happens like that. You have to protect the fighter. You'd rather do it too soon than too late. You hear it all the time. Look at that fight over and over. It looked like that punch landed right on the tip of the chin, and Barroso bent over and he was out. That's where Tony Weeks stepped in. I'm not protecting Tony Weeks. I'm just making a case. I'm not playing devil's advocate either. I'm just telling you what I think he saw. That's it.
Yeah, but he didn't see it. That's the point. It didn't happen. And the question was, should this outcome be overturned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission? And the answer is a resounding yes. Tony Weeks had one of the worst nights of any referee I've ever seen. And I'm with you. Tony Weeks has been a good referee in the past, but Corrales Castillo was what? Like 25, 30 years ago? We're going to look back on that as being his finest performance and why he deserves the benefit of the doubt? No. First of all, he missed the knockdown early. That was not a knockdown by Rolly Romero. Romero landed a decent left hook, and then he came back and shoved Barroso to the ground. That was bad. The stoppage was exponentially worse. Go watch the replay of that fight, Sergio, and I'm sure you have. But watch the replay again. Not a single punch of Romero landed in that sequence. He was throwing wildly, Barroso was throwing back, and then Tony Weeks steps in and stops the fight. I understand refereeing is difficult, but this is the biggest stage. This is a world championship level fight. You are expected to get it right. And if you don't get it right, the Nevada State Athletic Commission should have the power and should step in and declare this fight a no contest. This fight needs to be declared a no contest today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today, right now. Barroso got screwed in this fight, and he deserves to have some justice.
He deserves justice, and I would love for it to be a no contest. I would love for him to get a rematch. I would love for a lot of these things to happen. But at 40 years old, you probably had the best night of your life. And this was the time to win a world championship. And this is not the first time it's happened. You know, fighters have bad luck like this. I mean, destiny wasn't on your favor, on your side. And as far as Tony Weeks go, look, you say good referee, I say great referee. He's had some of the greatest fights, and it's just a mistake. It was a mistake that has to happen in a millisecond, and that's the responsibility of a referee. I get it, but he's human. We're all human, and we shouldn't be upset or saying that he should get fired or he should be suspended. Tony Weeks made a mistake, but if you dissect that fight, we don't have the luxury of slow motion, Mannix. If you dissect that fight, the way he hunched over, that way that the punch landed, Tony Weeks had a bad perspective from it. I could see why he made that terrible stoppage.
What would you be saying if you were Barroso in that situation and Tony Weeks stopped the fight that you were in and you were winning on all 3 scorecards?
I would be outraged. I would be upset. I would be yelling at the top of my lungs. I would actually be more upset than Barroso himself was. But Barroso wasn't, yelling. He wasn't upset. He wasn't mad. He just looked at his corner like, what happened? Because Barroso knew he was hurt, Mannix. He knew those 40-year-old legs were bound to fall.
He wasn't hurt. We got to stop.
Dude, he was hurt.
Show me where he was hurt. Show me at what point in time during that fight he was hurt. Where was he hurt?
Earlier in that round when he got dropped.
He didn't get dropped. He didn't get dropped. That's established.
He got hit by a big punch and then he got pushed. Okay,
left hand. He got hit by a left hand. He took it and then he got pushed to the ground. It was as clear as day, Sergio. That was obvious.
His legs shaky.
Who cares? The 9th round. It's the 9th round of a championship fight that he was in. What I think happened was somewhere in Tony Weeks' mind, he considered Barroso an old man. Barroso's listed at 40 years old, but he looks like he's 60. It's the reality of the situation. He looks a lot older than his listed age, and I think Tony Weeks, in the back of his mind, might have been a little concerned that an old man like Barroso might get hurt in a situation like that, but that's the wrong way to referee this fight. Barroso was winning. This was the culmination of his boxing dreams. This man has been fighting since 2005. He has never won a major world title. You've got to, if you're Tony Weeks, allow him to go out on his own terms. Instead, he stopped the fight way too early, and regardless of what happens from here, Barroso has lost out on being a world champion, and he's lost out on the hundreds of thousands of dollars that come with being a world champion. The very least that the Nevada State Athletic Commission can do is rule this a no contest. The very least that the WBA can do is order an immediate rematch. Barroso needs justice. And I don't want to hear this should be swept under the rug. I don't want to hear we should move on. We should not move on from this. This should be pushed and pushed and pushed until Barroso gets his day.
I agree with everything you said, but it's not going to happen. So this time next week, when it gets swept under the rug and it gets forgotten about, I'll remind you of it.
Yes, I can't believe you, the fighter, are okay with it being swept under the rug. I can't believe it.
I'm not okay with it, but this is what happens when you let 40-year-old fighters, when they get sanctioned to fight. The referees have it in the back of their mind. It's a conscious decision saying that as soon as this man is hurt or tired or wobbly, they're going to go in there and stop it. It's not like if it's a 25-year-old getting battered around. They're going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but not a 40-year-old man. That's where commissions and the sanctioning bodies and everyone else that's involved.
Yeah, but they licensed him. They said he was okay to fight. If you're being given permission to fight by the State Athletic Commission, you should be allowed to go out there and fight like any other fighter. Your age should not be taken into consideration. And look, Tony Weeks had to know going into that 9th round, Barroso was winning. He had to know Barroso was having success. This was not a guy, Sergio, that was getting the crap kicked out of him for the first 8 rounds. This was a guy that knocked Rolly Romero down in the 3rd round and was winning most of the rounds on the scorecards. There was no need in that situation to protect him.
I agree with you here. I'm giving you a glimpse of what I think Tony Weeks saw. I'm not forgiving Tony Weeks. I'm telling you it was a terrible decision. Rewind my comment. It was a terrible decision, but I can understand maybe possibly what Tony Weeks saw, considering he had his vantage point behind Rolly Romero. Romero threw a right hand. If you look at it in slow motion, it looks like it landed right on the tip of the chin, and it looked like Barroso was folded down, about to collapse. That's what I think Tony Weeks saw, and in a millisecond, he decided to stop it. That's what I think happened. That's it. That's all I can say.
It was a bad call, and it needs to be overturned now.